Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Morning Mayhem. I have missed you guys so much. So I did take a little bit of a hiatus from the show. I did announce it ahead of time, but if you're new here, let me just go ahead and let you know. I do filmmaking and videography stuff on the side, which technically I do this on the side and that's on the side, but this anyways, so I've got a lot of stuff I do on the side. I did have a videography opportunity a couple of weeks ago that I did jump on. It's the only thing that pays me outside of my main job, so I had to jump on it, right? Take advantage of it. Filmed some pre-K graduates, and it was just adorable. 2K, 3K, 4K. Oh, just melt your heart. Love it. And so I've been working on that. I got some stuff to do pre-graduation night that took me out of the game for one of my weekly episodes. And then, of course, last week I was planning on not having an episode. So I have been doing reaction videos under the moniker of Mayhem Reacts. If you are here because of that, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoy this show as well. And if you haven't checked out Mayhem Reacts, check it out. I've been doing movie trailers, TV show trailers like The Boys and Evil season. There are new seasons that are coming out right now. Let's see. I've got more music on the way, actually coming up very, very soon. Next week, maybe even I'll have some more videos coming out, so stay tuned for that. But back to Mayhem, the Morning Mayhem, if I can remember where I'm at now, the Morning Mayhem. So we do this show on Friday mornings, 10 a.m. every week, unless otherwise noted. And then we cut up the little individual episodes or segments and make them individual episodes to release throughout the week. I'm rusty, guys. I'm so rusty because it's been 2 weeks. So February, the second weekend of February through end of March, I haven't missed an episode, did the Morning Mayhem, and then I had to miss a little bit for this, and I started introducing reactions and stuff, and so there's been a new shift in things. I know last time I was with you guys, I was looking at our numbers, and I was like, man, we are really close to 50 subscribers. We are really, really close to 50 subscribers, and we hit 50 before I even posted the video. So thank you guys if you were part of that 50 for jumping on. Now I'm looking at it, we're over 80. We're like 85, I think is what I last saw. And so, man, we are right on our way to 100. A lot of those subscribers came from Mayhem Reacts, so I hope I don't lose you on this, but I feel like what I do share here on the Morning Mayhem is important, so I hope you'll give it a listen and check it out. So thanks again to all those that are OGs in the subscriber base. I appreciate you all, and if you're new here, I certainly appreciate you joining us. And if you enjoy what you see today, consider giving us a like, share, subscribe, follow, whatever platform you're on. I am on all these platforms down here. I watched the quartering, and he was saying that it does seem like there's some shadow banning maybe on certain platforms if you mention some of these other names, specific names of other platforms. So I won't do it, but I am on all these. Check them out. Links will be in the description below, along with any articles, links, data, stats, or anything I use. I always put that in the comments or in the show notes below, so you can go back behind me and fact check and make sure I didn't skip over something that was vitally important. Okay, don't want to have too much of a spin on it. I'm going to have my own personal biases, sure, but you can always go behind me, fact check me, see what's going on. Let's do our rundown for the week this week, what we've got going on here. Let's see. Boom. All right. So we're going to talk about America's largest LGBTQ rights group backing Biden. Shocker. I know, right? Rick and Morty, which is a show I used to watch all the time when it first came out. Rick and Morty have done the unthinkable, according to CNN's article, and is violence expected in swing states due to the election? Spoiler alert, yeah, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. And first, we're going to go into one of the biggest reasons why, out of the videography filmmaking stuff that I do, I don't shoot rap videos. Okay? First article up. New York Post, teen rapper accidentally kills himself on social media video after pointing gun at his head and pulling trigger. Now, this has been making the rounds. I had this pulled up already, ready to go, and then I finished watching this past week's episode of Off the Rails from Third Railify from a good buddy of mine, Sean. I have been on his show a couple of times. Really highly recommend him on his channels on all platforms that he's on. Go check him out and support him. But he covered this, and I've seen a couple other people talk about it, but I had it pulled up and I want to talk about it from a slightly different perspective. Let's read through this article real quick. I'm not going to show, I will say this, I didn't get this warning from Sean, so heads up, Sean, next time let a brother know. I'm not going to show the graphic video okay, of what happens here, unless it just randomly pops up on the screen. I will be scrolling through it, but I did see it. I wasn't expecting to see it, wasn't caring to see it, but I did see it when I was watching Third Railify's Off the Rails. So just FYI, if you do tune into that from this past week, you may see it, but we'll go through it real quick and talk about it a little bit. So I'm not going to be showing anything graphic, and I read through this earlier. I want to say I didn't see anything that was super graphic in nature, other than obviously what happened is he shot and killed himself stupidly, but still tragically. I mean, it is sad, right? This is somebody's baby. Oh, and then we see a puppy. Okay. This is a teenage rapper accidentally killed himself while filming a video on social media when he pointed a gun at his head and pulled the trigger. Okay. So I talked about this just recently, about a month or so ago. I think I just purchased a new concealed carry, little 9mm, and I took my daughter with me. My daughter, who actually today just graduated the 5th grade. I know graduated, but moved on from 5th grade with honorable mention, meaning AB honor roll, and she's in the gifted program. And I just couldn't be more proud of her. Just daddy holding back tears today. It was awesome, but I really want her to understand life. And she's always like, Dad, you don't have to give me life lessons. Yeah, I do. A good father does. A good parent does, in my opinion. Your job is to prepare your children for the world. And the world sucks. The world's going to come at them. The world is evil. Back to, I got to mention him again. I'm sorry. He's not my boyfriend, I promise. But he is a good friend. And Sean from Third Railify, we cut up. We get along. We have great conversations. We've talked about faith to a degree, and one of the things he says, and he said this, so I'm not saying anything that's behind closed doors. He has said this in the open, is that he has seen so much evils in the world that the opposite has to be true. And this is someone who's more agnostic now. I think he'll say he's more agnostic now than he was atheist or anti-theist before. So he's more open to it and everything. But he has seen so many evils, and I keep pointing to Revelation. And a lot of times when I talk in my last short film that I did called "What the Devil Said," which is on YouTube, and if you're interested, I'll throw a link to that in the description below too. It's an internationally award-winning short film. But we talked about that in Revelation in that film, is that when the devil was kicked out, when Satan, Lucifer, was kicked out of heaven, he wasn't kicked down to hell. He wasn't kicked out into the universe somewhere. He was kicked down to earth. He was kicked out of heaven and onto earth along with his fallen angels, aka demons. So they are here. The evil is here. The demons are here, if you believe in that. If you don't believe in that, just go walk outside. You'll see. Turn on the news, you'll see. I mean, there's just evil, there's demonicness, the world is chaotic. So as a father, I want to prepare my daughter for that, for everything. And one of the things that I see out there, and I am biased, obviously, I am very conservative, right-leaning in my biases, even though I do attack those guys every now and then, because nobody's perfect, first of all, including me, especially me. But what's right is right, and I will call out wrong. But one of the things that I've seen, and you'll hear politicians say that there's gun show loopholes and anybody can buy a gun and all this and that. She's 11 years old. She walked into the store with me, saw me purchase the handgun, and the paperwork I had to do, the background I had to do. She didn't know you had to do all that. Obviously, at 11, you don't really think about all that. Now, she is more informed and more knowledgeable about the process than a good chunk of our politicians. Either that, or they're just lying and deceiving you, and they are aware of it. But they think you can just go in and buy a gun. You can't. Okay, you have to pass a background check. In fact, the person that was in there shopping for one, purchasing one at the same time I was, had to do the background check a second time because something came back on it, or it didn't come back fully, or something like that. It's big. It's important, you know, that we follow these rules that we have set up. So I'm very vocal about that. I'm an Eagle Scout. I was taught a lot of firearm safety, from handguns to rifles and so on and so forth. I've shot all kinds of stuff. I'm a country boy, slightly country boy. I'm not like a hillbilly country boy, but I'm a country boy from down here in central Georgia. And, you know, we like our guns. So, you know, I understand gun safety, and the number one rule I was taught when I was a kid, and then the guy that I bought the gun from at the store echoed the same thing. Never, ever, ever, ever point the muzzle of the gun at anything you don't want to see a hole go into, right? Anything you don't want a hole punch. Okay. Loaded or unloaded. We've seen recently on the set of Rust, you know, Alec Baldwin pointed a gun at the cinematographer, which is what I do on films a lot of times, but he pointed the gun at the cinematographer, pulled the trigger, and a live round came out and killed the cinematographer. Tragic. But he thought a fake round was loaded in there. That's why there needs to be safety precautions in place, because you never, ever point a gun at anything you're not willing to see a hole in. Okay? That's the number one rule. And I see a lot more youth getting into guns. And I'm okay with it, because I think it's all right. But I also think we need to understand gun safety. My child is 11 years old. She knows where my guns are. She knows what to do, what not to do. She knows safety about them to a degree. I haven't taken her down to the range or anything like that yet, but she knows not to mess with them. She knows what, you know, the dangerous end is and everything like that. And back to this, here's the thing with this one is, it says teenage rapper, but then it goes down here, it says the rapper's 17. He purchased, I don't know who purchased the firearm. 17 years old, playing with a gun. And I think, yeah, it doesn't show it. Yeah, there. Okay. So he's first of all, he's doing a little video, which social media has been brain rot for so many people. No doubt. And it makes people do stupid things, between eating Tide Pods to setting their chest on fire to now. I saw 7 years ago or whatever, some other kid shot themselves on social media by doing something, pointing the gun at their head. It says, I'll read through this, and I'll kind of go back to what I was saying originally about like music videos and stuff. It says teenage rapper accidentally killed himself while filming a video on social media when he pointed a gun at his head and pulled the trigger. Okay, so rule number one, don't point it at anything. And rule number two, don't put your finger on the trigger until you're ready to put a hole in that thing. Loaded or unloaded. That's always the rule. Always the rule, right? All right, the rapper 17 was found dead in Suffolk, Virginia on May 15th. Police confirmed to the Post. Cops said they believe he died from an accidental self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. I would say that's accurate because it's on video that he accidentally self-inflicted a gunshot wound to his head. In fact, again, I saw it. He shows off his gun, which doesn't look incredibly too dissimilar from one of mine. And he puts it to his head. I don't have the laser, but he puts it to his head. Now, the point of the laser is to give you an idea of an accurate place where that bullet is going to go. It is now pointed at his temple, or pretty close to. He pulls the trigger. Now, in the video, you can see, I don't know if it's the hair or if it's something else, coming out over here or flinging over that way. And it's jaw-dropping, it's jarring, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking that this happened. This was a kid doing something stupid on social media with a firearm that maybe he should or shouldn't have had. I don't know. We'll read through the rest of the story, see if we find out any more about that. But he clearly didn't know firearm safety. Education is important. Education doesn't just come from school. It comes from parents. It comes from life. It's not a college degree. Doesn't mean that you're the most educated person out there, where somebody who's grown up on the farm their whole life might know how to fix a tractor or a truck, till a farm of so many different kinds of crops, and then how to build a house and stuff. That person, I would say, is more educated, especially in certain areas, than someone who has a college degree in basket weaving or something like that, right? Education is vital. And if you have a firearm, you need to be educated. Okay. So we see here the green light right there. This is where the bullet's going to go. And it absolutely went there. Okay. It said police would not confirm the name of the deceased teen, but separate footage circulating on social media showed Suffolk-based rapper Rilo Huncho singing into a camera while dancing with a pistol with a green laser sight. It's not it. Okay, there we go. The boy appeared to switch off the weapon's safety and point it at his head when a gunshot rang out, and he was thrown from the view as the camera dropped. The next day, a GoFundMe was set up for Huncho's grieving mother. There he was right there. He was her only son, a cousin of the rapper wrote in the post. She was a single parent, but took care of her son the best she could. Suicide/accidental was the cause of his death. We are still trying to figure out why. But anything can help her at this time of need, the cousin wrote. It was always her and her son. So he's talking on the GoFundMe, obviously, for that. So, it is sad to see him get struck down. Single mother. We saw that right here too, right? She was a single parent. I've spoken about this before. I know others have as well. And the one and only time so far that I've actually preached at church or gave a sermon, I don't know if I preached, I don't know if it's the same thing. That was something we talked about, is fatherless homes. Fatherless homes are, the stats on that are mind-blowing. How when you remove the father from the home, the likelihood that someone's going to be a criminal, go to jail, be homeless, be a runaway, join a gang, whatever, drop out of school, drop out of church, so on and so forth, like the numbers just skyrocket for a fatherless home. Not as much with a motherless home. And I'm not trying to start a fight here between fathers and mothers, but there's definitely something fathers bring to the table that mothers don't. And I know that's controversial nowadays, because men can be women and women can be men, according to some people. But you got to understand, the way nature is and the way that we as fathers are is completely different. I'll tell you, my daughter, when she got done with the graduation and we went to go get her, she hugged my wife, and it was very loving. And then when she came to me, there was so much pride and so much passion that she just started tearing up. And then I started kind of sort of almost tearing up myself. And there was like this pride, like I made my dad proud. And I know she felt that with her mom too, no doubt at all. But there's something special. There's something special about a father, and we can do a deep dive on that. I'm not going to right now. But there is definitely so much more that you get from a home with a father than you do with a home from a mother. And I wish and I pray that there are more homes with fathers in them going forward, because it makes a huge difference. The last thing I'll say to wrap this up, as a filmmaker / videographer / whatever you want to tack onto that, I've been asked to shoot music videos before. I have one music video that I did. I was so tainted from the experience and so aggravated from the experience, I said I won't do music videos again. I've reconsidered it. If asked to do a music video, I may. Rap videos are ones that I almost will refuse hand down. And it's not because most rappers are black or because of the kind of music it is. Again, I grew up listening to everything. I mean, I would have Tupac next to Charlie Daniels in my CD case, and I'd have, Dr. Dre next to Guns N' Roses, whatever. I had everything. So it's not the kind of music, it's not the kind of people that usually surround that music, but it is a lot of times I will see people that I turn down a gig, or I see somebody post one and someone else I know takes it on, because we all kind of know each other in the local area, including up in the Atlanta area. We know some of the same people up there. And I have seen music videos where they are shooting them specifically for rap, where they are flinging around guns nonstop, handguns, rifles, whatever. And there were times where I could see live rounds were there on the set, and there's no way. I mean, you couldn't pay me enough. So, you know, those people that I know that do that stuff, they make pretty good money. You know, rappers, they tend to have a good bit of money and they can pay for music videos. So good on you for that. But my life and what I give up is not worth it. And as you saw here, I mean, this is an aspiring rapper. It's very sad that he's gone. It was completely avoidable with the proper education. I pray for his family. I hope, you know, they find peace. I will say 17, I'll go back to it. 17 years old. He has a handgun already. He's clearly smoking something. It's pretty obvious that the father's missing, and he's missing some structure. So, RIP to him, for sure. And to the family, you know, best of luck to you guys on that. But that's that one. We'll move on. In fact, the next one we're going to do is, a new segment. I think I've had this ready for a while and never truly found the proper article or news story or whatever to use for it. So we're going to go into our very first gay segment.
LGBTQ2 plus.
Gay. All right, so just from that little stinger, there's two things I don't care for too much. In that one stinger, Justin Trudeau, my buddy, third Railify Sean, Canadian guy, he's like, no, we're not digging him either. So Justin Trudeau, not a fan. And the LGBTQIA2S plus spirited whatever, you know, kind of clique. I know plenty of people that fit into the LGB, that LGB clique, which is about sexual orientation, you know, who you want to date, love, have intercourse with, whatever. I know plenty of people in that community, and all of them, for the most part, are lovely people. Once you start getting outside of that to the TQIA, you start talking about some needy folks, some folks that are incredibly aggressive, and you're talking about more identity and feelings than you are sexual attraction or orientation, rather. So I don't feel like these things are related, first of all, but that's beside the point. We'll go into that another time, I'm sure. So I'm not anti-gay, okay, but I've got my beef with the LGBTQ community and things that they've been doing lately. So let's go into this article real quick. I mentioned it a minute ago at the opening, but this is from NBC News. It says America's largest LGBTQ rights group plans $15 million swing state blitz to re-elect Biden. We're actually going to talk about the swing states in just a little bit in another article, but we'll read through a little bit of this. The Human Rights Campaign. The Human Rights Campaign is launching a spending push in 6 key states to rally equality voters and warns that many still need to be persuaded to vote for Biden. You guys just need to vote for Biden. For us LGBTQs. Now I was going to go to this later, but I'll go ahead and jump to it. If you're not familiar with who the Human Rights Campaign is or don't remember them, they are, I don't know if they're like the end all be all, you know, for LGBTQ rights, but they are a nonprofit that represents them and their well-being and everything like that. And so this is a graph that they came up with back in, I think it was June of last year, around Pride Month, of course, which is when my birthday is. They issued for the first time a state of emergency. So state of emergency sounds pretty severe, right? Well, the state of emergency for the LGBTQ plus people were that states were passing laws that they didn't like, and or they were passing laws that they didn't feel went far enough. And that's again where I get in outside that LGB. Once you start getting into the TQs and all that stuff, there's so much more demanding to be accommodating in the most ridiculous ways. LGB, I remember those guys were like, hey, we just want to be with each other. We want to be able to get married and kind of live our own lives and do our own thing. And I think for the most part, everybody was like, that's fine. Even if it wasn't your thing, most people were like, not my thing, but you go for it. Have fun. Or even if it was, whatever, there wasn't as huge of a pushback as there is right now on the whole thing. So here's some of the things they say are good and bad. And you think about how it makes you feel, right? So it lists the states and it lists these different things, which they tell you which are good and bad, because for the LGBTQ plus community, some of these are good and some of these are bad. And they clearly have to tell you and color coordinate it so because, it changes on whatever day ends in Y sometimes. So let's look at this. So what do they consider good? Non-discrimination laws. Okay, I'm okay with that. Yeah, let's not discriminate. Conversion therapy ban. Well, there are plenty of people that came out of conversion therapy or whatever you want to call it. And they said, it was great. They really got a lot out of it. And then what is considered conversion therapy entirely? I think they can try to put a lot of stuff under that umbrella that's not necessarily related. And that's where you start getting into the murky territory, right? And let's go on to the bad. So you got gender affirming care ban. That is where you can mutilate children and allow yourself to be mutilated to become the gender that you are not. So they said banning that is bad. In my opinion, banning that's not a bad thing. Now, I will say this, though. Anything an adult wants to do to themselves, I'm okay with. I don't care. If you want to chop off your body parts, go for it. If you want to call yourself another name, that's already been legal for a long time. Go for it. If you want to say you're a male or female or whatever, hey, you make yourself happy in your own head. Now, once you start applying that to society and you start making others have to agree with you that you are a female or you are a male or man, whatever. I know people say sex and gender are different. They're not. When you start making the society follow the rules that are in your own head and the reality that you've created, that's where I draw the line. Like, no. You're an adult. You can do whatever you want to. If two consenting adults want to get together, LGB, straight, whatever, it doesn't matter. You can do that. Okay. But a lot of this, the gender affirming care ban, a lot of that is for children, for minors. That I have a problem with. And then we're going to see here in a minute, some of it is where they don't tell the parents and the parents aren't involved and they keep it a secret from the parents. That is absolutely off the table. I'm sorry, if my child's going through something, no one cares more about the well-being of my child than me. Me and my wife, that's it. The school may love her to death, and I know they do, and I know she's got good people there at school, but I swear, you guys don't love her and care for her well-being like me and her mother. And everyone else watching, if you have a child, you feel the exact same way. If you don't, you may be a crappy parent, okay? No one should love and care about your child more than you. All right, let's keep going. Bathroom ban, which means men using men's restrooms and women using women's restrooms. This goes back into my previous statement. If you want to say you're a man or a woman in your own head, that's fine. If it makes you feel better, go for it. But once you are a man going into the women's restroom where my wife or my child are, then we've got a problem, and I'm going to take care of it. Sports participation ban. Another one where I'm personally affected by here. My daughter plays sports. She plays soccer. She's looking at maybe even doing some other sports. She wants to play against other girls. In fact, that's where she shines, in her own league, just like men should be in their own league. So if boys are playing in girls soccer and they are whooping up on the girls, then that eliminates scholarship opportunities, funding opportunities, opportunities for them just to be successful at something, which is supposed to be teaching them teamwork and hard work and, all kinds of other stuff, which that's what sports do, especially in the youth. It teaches them so much that they can carry on throughout their life. Plus, again, scholarships and opportunities for colleges and stuff. I would love to not have to pay for college for my little girl if she wants to go. If she got through on a sports or what was the other one? Academic scholarship, which at this point, I think she could do either one. Would love to see that ride out and keep going. But if we got boys in there playing with the girls, that's not fair. So I don't think sports participation ban is a bad thing. But again, I'm not for the insanity that goes with this community. LGBTQ plus erasure law. Not really sure what that means. Don't say LGBTQ law. That doesn't exist. I watched a video of the lady that I think she's the CEO or president of or whatever of this group. And she said, you know, the infamous "don't say gay" bill in Florida. It didn't say "don't say gay" anywhere in it. That's what you idiots called it. It's not true. It's not what it was. You can say gay all you want to. It had other restrictions in it that you didn't like. So you lied and portrayed it something and it was not. You're full of it. You're liars. You're deceitful. I know someone who in the Bible is like that. The next one, pronoun refusal law. Now, look, I'm not going to go out of my way to be a jerk, but if I look at you and you're a dude, and I'm going to reference you as a dude. If I can make accommodations and not call you a dude and reference you as a she or a her, if my mind will work that way, I may very well do that. It's not reality, but I may. Now, if you start saying they or them or z or zer, I ain't doing all that. I'm just not, because it's all made up. It's fictional. It's false. Just as much as she, her is for a he, him. But I mean, I might try. I'm not going to go out of my way to be disrespectful. How about that? That's what I'm saying. So the law, I don't know, whatever. Forced student outing law. Absolutely. If your child is LGBTQ and your school knows it, I don't say it's their job to out your child in that, but if they are wanting to transition or have body mutilation or anything along those lines, yes, you as a parent should be involved in that conversation, which shouldn't exist at all. I mean, you should not be going through with it, obviously, but yes, they should be forced to out your student in that case. Now, I'm okay with not outing if they're gay or something like that. That's something that they should do on their own. It's a very sensitive thing. Again, I know a lot of people like that. I know some people that still haven't exactly come out yet. I have one very close friend that's gay. I think he said him and his dad haven't actually said the words, but it's just kind of known, and they don't really talk about it. You know, it is, and they get along just fine for the most part, but it's just a very, it's a very sensitive thing. And I'm agreeing with this in the sense of, yeah, I don't think it's anybody's job to out anyone as far as that goes. But if it is something like, I want to transition, I want to body mutilate, I want to hormone replacement, yes, it is not your position. You have to out that decision to the parents. Hands down, absolutely 100%. Anti-drag ban. Drag queen shows, I've heard, are very fun for women and guys who like them to go to, and I think that's great. I think that's fine. You know, bars are great places to go to, but there are also places where children aren't allowed, kind of like drag shows. And there's a lot of people, and I think someone my wife has told me about personally that she knows or follows or something. It's like, look, I've been a drag queen for a long time. It ain't a place for kids. Never has been, never will be. It was always a place for us as gays to go out and play, dress up and have fun and just be crazy. Kids don't need to be there. And I don't disagree with that at all. I agree. Kids should not be at these drag shows, especially the ones that are being outed. And the fact that drag shows are canceling their shows when they find out children can't come to them, what does that tell you? Now, I'm not going to do a deep dive into that. I'm just saying. Makes you kind of wonder a little bit the direction that these guys are wanting to go in. So let's go back to this. So that's who the Human Rights Campaign are. And of course, most all of their funding comes from Democrats. I saw a chart on that. It's like 100% come from Democrats, 0% from Republicans. Sometimes there was 5% from Republicans, but this is all Democrat based. So understand that their funding comes from Democrats, and they're going to turn around and do a blitz for Biden, who is a Democrat. Now, I couldn't find where our government uses our tax dollars to give any kind of funds or grants or anything to them. I don't think they do. I wasn't able to find that. But I know there's other organizations out there like We Fund, so much toward Planned Parenthood. And then Planned Parenthood turns around and gives to like a PAC or gives to whatever for fundraising for the Democrat Party. So our tax dollars are then being rerouted to the Democrat Party. I hate that. That should never, ever happen. If you are getting tax dollars for your organization, your business, your 501c3, whatever it is, you should be ineligible to donate as an organization, ineligible to donate to a political party, because then it's just those tax dollars that my money is now going to a political party I may or may not side with. And I'd rather have that in my pocket, to be honest. But let's just read a little bit about this. And again, we're going to go back to the swing states in another section here in a little bit. There he is. He loves him some LGBTQ stuff, doesn't he? That's the man, the myth, the legend right there. He has no idea he's holding a microphone. And why does he always hold a microphone when there's other microphones in front of him? I've never seen anyone else do that as far as like presidents go. There's a lot that he does that I've never seen other presidents do. Moving on. And I'm not going to read through this entire article. I don't think. Yeah, no, I'll kind of skim through it a little bit. All right. I messed your eyes up just now. The Human Rights Campaign, largest LGBTQ rights group in the United States, is launching a $15 million commitment to help Democrat President Joe Biden defeat Republican Donald Trump in the 2024 election, which, to be fair, I think is a waste of money. The spending blitz, shared first with NBC News, will cover the 6 key battleground states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. The group says it will include paid ads, staff hires, field campaigns, and events in those states, which are poised to decide who wins the presidency and Congress. And after crunching the numbers, the organization sees warning signs in the form of soft support for Biden in the 2024 electorate. No kidding. HRC estimates that this year there will be 75 million equality voters who vote based on support for the LGBTQ rights, up from 62 million in 2020 and 52 million in 2016. But the group says 1/3 of them aren't a lock for Biden. In the 6 key swing states, hundreds of thousands are at risk of not voting, and another group of hundreds of thousands of voters are what HRC refers to as double doubters, who will likely defect to a third party, according to data HRC shared with NBC News. I will say this as a reminder to my LGB or LGBTQ friends. Donald Trump was the first president to go into the office pro-gay rights, pro-gay marriage, whatever. He was the first. Obama didn't do it. Bush, Clinton, none of them. Trump was the first one to go in and be all like, hey, love who you love. But they're going to go out and they're going to paint him as the bad guy. Now, remember this too. They're talking about LGBTQ rights being at risk and equality voters and everything. Now, what they're asking for, again, this is not equality. We want to have boys playing on the girls' teams. We want to have men going into the women's restrooms. We want to be able to surgically mutilate and chemically castrate your children. This is not equality that they're looking for. Again, there's laws that they want that protect them, and there's laws that don't go far enough. And I will say this about a lot of the stuff on the left. I don't see this on the right as much. And again, this may be my personal bias showing, but the goalposts always move. Nothing is ever good enough. Nothing ever is ever far enough. And what doesn't offend someone today is very likely to offend somebody tomorrow. It's a never ending cycle or goalpost shifting of what's good enough, what's right, what's wrong in the minds of liberals, and especially the LGBTQ community, which feels like they've got the ball and they're running with it right now because we've let them. They have gotten more rights, gotten away with more, made more ground in a shorter period of time than Black Americans. Black Americans who fought for their rights for so long. They have equal rights now, still struggling from, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents that didn't have them. But the LGBTQ people just went, knocked down the door and like, we're going to take over everything. And we're going to be in all your movies, and we're going to run Hollywood, and we're going to be your teachers, and you're going to agree with us, or else we're going to oust you as homophobe, this and that, make you lose your job and your livelihood and your ability to support your family. Like, where did all this come from? I know gay people have always been around, even back to like the Roman times and stuff, right? I mean, forever. There's always been homosexuality. But all this other crap, come on, man. Let's keep rolling. Let's go down here. I saw some numbers earlier, I think, that may be interesting. Maybe not. That dude there stirred the hornet's nest, didn't he? All right. I saw some percentages down here. Maybe that's the other. No, here it is. Among the equality voters, it identified, HRC said 62% are younger than 40, 50% are non-white, and 70% are women. The risks of defecting from Biden, not voting, or voting third party are especially pronounced with those cohorts, according to HRC. That finding is consistent with recent surveys that show Biden struggling with young and non-white voters, a key reason he trails Trump in a head-to-head matchup in many national and swing state polls. HRC said an estimated 2,200 LGBTQ people turn 18 every day, which presents opportunities to register new voters. Gen Z voters in particular need to see more from the president, Robinson said. So there are a lot of gay people that are voting for Trump. A lot of gay people that are voting for Trump. When you look at things like immigration, and this is a word salad or word manipulation that the left likes to use. They say conservatives are against immigration. Trump is against immigration. No one is against immigration. No one I've ever heard of on the conservatives side is against immigration. We're against illegal immigration. And you may say, well, no one's illegal. Well, no one's calling them an illegal human being. They're an illegal immigrant. If they come into this country in any way that's not the legal way of doing it, the legal correct way of doing it, then yes, they have broken a law. They are then an illegal immigrant or illegal alien. Suck on that. But then if you look at people who came through the points of entry that passed all the tests, that did everything like they were supposed to, they're the number one staunch advocates for putting up the wall, for getting these people back, because they did it the right way, and they don't want to see these people take advantage of a system that they care about and they follow the rules to. It's the same thing with the LGBTQ community. You've got these LGBT people that have earned their rights, that have done what they've had to do, that are living in a wonderful society with Trump, as president. The economy is good. Things are great. Nobody's giving anybody a hard time except for him, obviously. And then you got the TQ plus IAS and all these folks come and say, no, we want more, we want more, we want more. Well, they've gone so far to the left and so far, as far as, what we were just looking at, as far as, going to the bathroom and gender affirming and all this and that. Like, so many gay people are like, we don't want nothing to do with that. Life was good under Trump. We recognize that. We're voting for Trump. Now, look, you may be watching right now and you either don't know who you're voting for, or you know exactly who you're voting for. I don't care. I'm giving you my perspective on it. I think the whole LGBTQ plus IA whatever community has gone haywire. I think it's lost its purpose. It's lost its point. It's something it's not like Black Lives Matter, which is a legit organization. When I say legit organization, it's stupid too, but it's an actual organization. LGBTQ is just a community. Like, anyone can fit into this community if you're any of these letters right here. And it's not what it was ever originally kind of formed as. You know what I mean? Like, people that belonged, and now they're starting to throw everybody else in the mix. It's like when you start throwing fruit into a salad, or, salad into meat. Nobody wants that rabbit food. My point is, there are people that think that you haven't gone far enough, people that are always moving the goalpost, and they're going to be in your face out there trying to get votes for Biden, and that's fine. But don't think that just because you're, like Biden said, if you don't know if you're going to vote for me or not, or Trump, you ain't black. Don't think you got to be voting for Biden if you're in the LGBTQ community. You go look at what life was like under Trump versus Biden and make your own decision. If you're an undecided voter, make your own decision. You're going to listen to me. You're going to listen to a lot of other people that are going to have their own biases. I'm a right-leaning conservative Christian dude from the South. I'm definitely going to have my biases. But I'm telling you right now, no, I'm not doing that. Do your own research, figure out who you want to vote for. Don't let other people tell you who you are, who you're going to vote for, and who you should align with. It's stupid. It's stupid. Be your own person. That's all I'm saying, guys. Hope you enjoyed that segment. Our very first gay.
LGBTQ2+.
Gay! All right, this article comes from AOL. Kinda. It's actually from The Hill, but The Hill, I want to say every time I go there, they want me to pay, so I'm not going to do it. So thanks, AOL. AOL did post it from The Hill. It's titled, Nearly Half of Swing State Voters Expect Violence Around Election, survey says. So these are your guys. They're right here. Let me go right there. We know who we're working with, right? You've got Biden, Democrat, Trump, Republican. I know I'm spoon feeding this to you right now, but there's a point I'm going to get to in a minute. So let's read this very, very, very short article. And don't forget, all articles, numbers, stats, everything's going to be in the description below. It says nearly half of voters across a group of swing states said they expect violence around the upcoming presidential election, according to a new poll. The Bloomberg Morning Consult poll asked voters in Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, how much do you trust each of the following that the election and its aftermath will be free from violence? 31% of respondents said not much, while 18% said not at all. 35% said some, and those answering a lot equaled 16%. The same poll also found that in a hypothetical matchup between former President Trump and President Biden, hypothetical matchup, isn't that exactly what it is? Anyways, between President Trump and President Biden, the swing state voters went for Trump by 4 points, with Trump at 48% in the poll versus Biden's 44%. This is true. CNN, MSNBC, everybody is freaking out because Biden carried some of these states, allegedly, and now Trump's just spanking them, because people are waking up. They're realizing it, right? Let's go ahead and knock this on out. The recent poll from the New York Times found Trump ahead of Biden by 3 percentage points in Pennsylvania, 5 in Michigan, 7 in Arizona, 10 in Georgia, and 12 in Nevada. Biden, however, beat Trump in Wisconsin by 2 points. Biden won each of the 6 states in the 2020 election, but not by large amounts. Voters will get to see Biden and Trump clash in person this summer, as they rapidly agreed to two debates last week, with one set for the end of June. Now, I will say this. I do cover all this. I do my own State of the Union report when it comes out. I do my own review of that. And I did do that this year, and I've done it in years past as well. Anytime there is a debate, I will be watching Steven Crowder, Louder with Crowder. They always do the live debates. They have a drinking game. They have a lot of fun. They do talk over it. So I do usually have like the actual debate on another screen, or I go back and watch it later with the knowledge that I have from Crowder. But those guys are so knowledgeable and have so much broken down that it's incredibly informative and entertaining. It's fun, especially if Nick DiPaolo's on there. But I really enjoy that. So if you're ever like wanting to add a little seasoning, a little flair to watching these things, and maybe need a little help breaking some things down and fact checking in real time, I do suggest Louder with Crowder. Now, he's on YouTube, he's on Rumble, he's on I don't know if he's on Locals, but I know his Mug Club is run through Rumble on Locals, which I'm a Mug Clubber. you know. So I'll be watching on Mug Club and checking out everything there. So if you do too, cool. If not, I highly recommend it. That's where I will be on the evenings here. So I won't be doing live streams. And if that happens to happen on a night that I record the show, I'll come up with something else, maybe do some more reactions. But yeah, really, really good place to watch it. I want to say that. And when they said rapidly agreed, Trump's been trying to get Biden, and Biden finally said he would do too. But no live audience. It's got to be on a liberal news station like CNN or MSNBC, or no, I think it's CNN. Is it NBC? NBC or ABC? I don't know. And no live audience. And we're going to mute your mic as soon as you're done. Like there's like 50,000 stipulations to debate, because we know what's going to happen when Biden and Trump get on the stage together. It's going to be very interesting. Closing out, the Bloomberg Morning Consult poll was conducted from May 7th through the 13th with a sample of blah, 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 blah from Arizona, Georgia, blah, 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 and a margin error of 1 percentage point. That's pretty accurate, and that's pretty good. So the question was, even though the article mostly talked about what looks like the polling, and who's ahead, how much they're ahead, everything like that, the question was around, how much do you trust each of the following: that the election and its aftermath will be free from violence? It did not poll well with that. They think there's going to be violence in these swing states. I don't disagree, but let me ask you this, because again, I broke down Republican, Trump, Biden, Democrat, right? Republican, Democrat. Between the two of them, you're going to have supporters. And when the supporters go out in the streets and cause violence and mayhem and chaos, who do you think is going to most likely be? Despite winning or losing, who do you think is going to take to the streets more? The one group that has been associated with January 6th, rightfully so. January 6th, which, to be fair, was a mostly peaceful protest, even though there were shenanigans and people got out of hand, and I will absolutely condemn anybody who did that. But if you go back and look at the tape, it was mostly peaceful compared to the other side that are rioting in the streets, blocking traffic, tearing down. Look, all right, hold on. So Republicans that are associated with January 6th, which is pretty much the only thing you can point to where they got out of hand, and they got out of hand for sure. Or is it more likely that it's going to be the Democrats being violent? Democrat voters that take to the street on a regular basis to destroy buildings, steal from and set fire to stores, turn over cars, block traffic, beat up people for being Republican, and literally take over city blocks. You cannot compare the two as to who is more violent, who is more reckless, who is more chaotic when they don't get their way. I'm going to say this, and if you're a Democratic voter, understand, I don't mean all Democratic voters, obviously. My best friend in the world, John, he's, I think, pretty much a Democrat. I know he's a never Trumper, or at least he used to be. He may have changed his mind. I would check on that. We're filming this weekend, so I might have to check on that. But I don't mean this about all Democrats. Just like anytime I say something about Republicans, I certainly don't mean it about all Republicans. And when I say like mostly peaceful on January 6th, it wasn't all peaceful. That's for sure. So I want to say this. When I see Democrats lose or Democrats get upset and they do all this stuff, the rioting, the burning down, the looting, all this stuff, it's like children throwing a temper tantrum. And back to a previous story that I did in this show about the young rapper who shot and killed himself by accident growing up in a fatherless home. I have always, since I've been conscious of the political parties and the political atmosphere and environment and everything, the Democratic leadership is more about feelings and the Republican leadership is more about facts. To me, when I look at it, the Democrat leadership is more like the mother or the feminine side of things, and the Republican is more about the masculine or, fatherly side of things. And again, back to what I was saying earlier, statistically, Fatherless homes. If you come up in a fatherless home, you're less disciplined, less structured, and more likely to commit crimes and get out of hand and be less of a productive member of society versus if you have a father in the home. So what does that tell you? The Democrats are acting like children out here in these streets, thinking laws don't apply to them, rules don't apply to them, and they're just doing their thing. And the politicians that support all that, because they'll say, oh, well, that's what insurance is for. It's okay. They've got insurance. Those businesses have insurance. And then they get mad when those businesses leave and then blame it on racism or something stupid like that. Anyways, done talking about this one. Definitely get out there and vote. Early voting, mail-in voting, in-person voting, whatever you need to do, whatever you have to do, go do it. I'm all about voting in person, getting there, and making sure that my vote is cast and counted as best as I can. And if you're a poll watcher, God bless you, go do your thing. Get out there and vote. That's been this segment. Let's move on to this final one here about Rick and Morty. So this actually comes from CNN, which is interesting. I don't need that. This comes from CNN. It says the sitcom killed off its villain. Now the show can go anywhere. It kind of reminded me of Avengers Endgame. You had Infinity War, which was amazing. And there was actually loss. You know, Avengers lost. They lost a lot. And then you had Endgame. I don't want to spoil it for you, but if you hadn't seen it by now, you might want to go check it out because I'm fixing to spoil it. So in Endgame, time travel becomes a thing. They can just undo anything that they did and undo anything they lost and win everything. And it just, the stakes weren't the same. They did beat the villain, but it didn't feel the same. You know what I'm saying? And they could go anywhere. And now when you look at all the Marvel stuff that came after Endgame, I know I've got my criticism in the comments when I talked about some of these other things coming out, but I mean, there ain't been nothing like everything prior to Endgame. I feel like we built up to Endgame with the big bad with Thanos, and then he's gone. And so is Marvel. It's never been able to recover. I think Guardians of the Galaxy that came out was the closest thing to a success, other than Spider-Man, which is the Sony Marvel. So the Sony, the Spider-Man one with all the three Spider-Men, of course, that was a huge hit. I think Guardians was big. Deadpool and Wolverine's coming out soon. I think that's going to be a really, really big hit. I don't think it's going to be maybe $1 billion big necessarily, but I think it's going to be big. I'm going to go check it out. I like all that. But that's what this kind of made me think of when I heard this. So now they're like, okay, now all bets are off. We don't have to follow our storyline anymore. We don't have to follow our timeline. We can move on. Not only that, but I remember watching Rick and Morty when it first came out. I was like, oh, I can watch this at night, and it's something stupid I can just put on like South Park or Family Guy or whatever and just kind of drift off into sleep. Rick and Morty, as stupid, silly, cartoony as it was, it's actually a very smart show. Like, I really got engaged into it. One of the, I was instantly a fan. I got hooked on it. Dan Harmon, who is one of the creators of it, he's one of the creators of it. He's got a story structure circle that he created. That's phenomenal. I use it now in all of my writings. Anytime I write a script, I use it. It talks about what happens at what point in the story. It you know, a quarter of the way through, a tenth of the way through, just it. And you can almost time every episode of Rick and Morty to that will. And it's awesome. It's awesome. It's a great, great tool. And there's one episode, and I've referenced this before, and I'll come back here. There's an episode of Rick and Morty that I think is absolutely phenomenal. And it sounds, and I'm going to describe it, it's going to sound really silly to you. Okay. You're going to be like, what are you talking about? But there's a deeper context there, almost prophetic in a way, in my opinion. Okay. Hear me out. And I don't know if this is exactly what they meant. So there's an episode where one alien entity takes over all these people's bodies. It's called Unity, right? Is it Unity? I think it's Unity. And so all these people are being controlled by this one person, this one unity, or entity or something, is all of the people, all these different people. but they used to be their own individual people, right? Later in the episode, Morty and his sister are waking them up and making them become themselves again. And then you had some people that were like, you know, this guy was a pedophile and this guy was a murderer and that guy is whatever. Now, on this planet that they're on, everyone looks the exact same, right? They're all blue or whatever it is. The first thing that happens when they get woken back up, the very first thing they do is they find something to divide themselves amongst, a tool to be divisive among themselves. So let me back up a little bit here. So we talk all the time about like racism in this country or anti-LGBTQ or what. Look, we're always going to find something to divide us. We just are, you know, and when I say we, I don't mean us or intentionally going out there and just being dicks, right? And saying, oh, you're black, I don't want, no. There's always going to be differences. I mean, on a form, it says, are you African American? Are you white? Are you non-Hispanic? I mean, there's always going to be stuff like that, which some of it's necessary and some of it isn't necessary. But there's always going to be something that makes us unique and different, and it's going to be divisive. Someone is going to use it to be divisive. So back to the show, all these people that are like blue or whatever look exactly the same. This dude rips off his shirt and he says, rise of the square nipples or whatever. And he's got like square nipples, and somebody else has pointy nipples, and somebody else maybe has like starfish shaped nipples or something like that. It is the stupidest thing, but it's exactly how we act as humans. You know, if everybody had babies, everybody mixed together and had babies, and there was no different races. You had Indian with black, white with, you know, Asian, and eventually it all mixed together and everybody looked the exact same. We would still find something to bicker about, something to divide us. And that was something that was very, very powerful from that episode. That's what I got out of it. So it's not, let's get rid of our differences. Our differences are fine. It's let's learn how to work with each other with our differences. Let's learn how to cohabitate and exist and love each other because or despite our differences. You know, that's really the lesson that I think we as a society still haven't learned yet. We often want to get rid of our differences, and that's just, well, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So anyways, that was my little spiel from Rick and Morty that I really enjoyed. I really did like that episode, and I thought it was very applicable to a lot of situations in the real world. So anyways, we'll read through this from a little bit. And this is a really long article. I'm not going to read it all. I'll just read some of the headlining areas here. So it says, after 10 years on the air, Rick and Morty, the animated sci-fi comedy about a misanthropic scientist and his 14-year-old grandson's interdimensional adventures, is surprising as ever. In its 7 seasons, it has steered its characters through apocalypse, divorces, an alien musical reality TV competition, and school dances, events with equally gravity in its off-kilter universe. There are very few rules in Rick and Morty, which makes the job all the more fun for its writers, who are working on its 8th and 9th seasons now. But in the middle of the 7th season, which ended in December, Rick and Morty made its most shocking move yet. So I guess spoilers. I may have already ruined that. Sorry. It finally gave Rick what he spent more than half of his 70-odd years seeking. Rick finally killed his mortal enemy, Rick Prime, in the 5th episode of the show's recent 10-episode season. Rick Prime, a cruel version of Rick from another dimension, killed our Rick's wife, throwing his life off course. Our protagonist's curdled, single-minded pursuit of vengeance eventually led him to rejoin his family, recruit his daughter's best teenage children for his interdimensional travels, and set the series in motion. But true to Rick and Morty's deeply cynical tone, Rick feels nothing when he kills Rick Prime in a series of increasingly brutal punches. Afterwards, back at his family home, while Morty rejoices in Rick's victory, Rick is as numb as a zombie. The act of killing his enemy, Rick realizes, was ultimately meaningless and does nothing to ease the loss of his wife. It takes him a few episodes to shake his despair. there's a story in there too, you know, a moral story and all that too, if you look deep enough. And I do like, I mean, I do like Rick and Morty. I do hate that they let what's his name, Justin Roiland. I think that talks about that in here too. Yeah, let me just read this and I'll come back to it. Rick made major strides in season 7 with one major setback. As in previous seasons, Rick and Morty's 7 seasons was profane, uproariously funny, and often deeply upsetting. Rick and Morty is the property of Warner Brothers Discovery, the parent company of CNN. No wonder why CNN's covered it. That's right. I forgot about that. It was the first to air. Season 7 was the first to air after Justin Roiland, who co-created the series with Dan Harmon and voiced both title characters, was fired due to allegations of sexual assault. But his departure didn't kneecap the series. New actors Ian were brought in to voice Rick and Morty respectively, and the show continues to probe the mysteries of life in outlandish scenarios, asking questions like, would you stage an intervention for your alcoholic friend whose wife left him for the predator? And also, what if Hugh Jackman was there? So yeah, so that was what I was going to say is we've seen this happen so many times. People are being fired for allegations. I don't know where Justin Roiland stands right now on things. I haven't followed it that closely. I mean, he was the co-creator of the series. He did both voices. He's done voices for other shows, and he was fired for allegations. Who else was it? Just Chris. God, he was in House of a Thousand Corpses. He had the show Singled Out. I can't think of his name. I know it was Chris Hardwick, I think was his name. He had allegations against him and he was fired. And then those allegations, I want to say, were proven to not be true. Well, he was already out of a job and his reputation was completely soiled. Justin Roiland may be a piece of crap and may have done everything he's being alleged to have done. He may be a completely innocent dude. We will probably never hear about it, but we have heard that he got fired and all the allegations and everything. So his reputation is ruined, whether he did it or not, and he's lost his job. A job from a show that he co-created. I mean, that is a bummer right there. You know what I mean? Just a bummer. So I did hate to hear that, and I haven't watched Rick and Morty probably the last 2 years or so. I want to say I was watching it on one platform and then they quit carrying it. Then it moved to another one and I didn't have that one or something. I don't remember. But I've seen, you know, most of the early stuff. I have not seen any of the new ones without Justin doing the voices. So, you know, I don't know how that's going. I want to say I've heard some people say that the voices were pretty good, but they could use some polishing it up. And I get that. Sure, I get that. But I do like the show. I just wanted to call that out because, one, I just want to mention it again because of how silly to me it is to fire somebody with those kind of allegations if there's nothing more to back them. And then what it did by killing the villain. I don't think Rick and Morty really stuck to like any kind of set rules anyway. And I don't know if this did anything for a show, but they made it a big announcement on CNN, of course, because I mean, it's like the only other thing besides Trump they ever talk about, it seems like. But yeah, it's kind of like the cuffs are off to do even more stuff that they wanted to do. But I feel like sometimes those restrictions, the restriction of this is your goal, this is your purpose, this is where you're heading. I think a lot of times, while it does limit you in what you can and can't do or should or shouldn't do, it often streamlines your storytelling and your focus. And again, I'm just a small time filmmaker guy. I'm not big deal, but I think that helps guide the path. Like everything we saw in Marvel building up to Endgame had that drive and that purpose. And then after that, it's kind of like, well, there's a bad guy and there's a bad guy, but there's not a main villain. And we've lost all of our main guy. You know, it just got completely off course. In my humble yet accurate opinion. I have seen some of the stuff after Endgame. Not really loving anything, honestly. But again, that's Disney for you. They've kind of screwed over Star Wars and now Marvel. But, you know, hey, Deadpool, Wolverine, it's coming out. We'll see what they do. Guys, that's it. Thanks for sticking around with me. It was a short one this week, I think. I hope I didn't go too long. Let's see. I guess it was about the normal length. I did cover less stories, so I was trying to be short. I'm tired. I'm still working on my video production stuff, but I will say this. If you enjoyed it, if you liked it, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Check us out on all these platforms. If you're on any of these other ones, would greatly appreciate that. And again, if you are a new subscriber, I certainly appreciate you. If you haven't subscribed yet, hopefully I've earned that today. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. And we do have more Mayhem reaction videos coming out. So if you are into that, stay tuned to the channel. We got some more movie trailer reactions coming out. We've got some more music video reactions coming out very, very, very soon. And then before too long, we'll be having our Fallout series of reactions roll out, where we take a look at each episode of the series of Fallout that just came out. Guys, we really, really appreciate you. We're on the drive to 100 subscribers. So, hey, let's get there. I know we can do it. Love you guys. See you on the next one.
I hate to dream. Dreaming takes energy. Sleeping is supposed to be a relaxing affair. I lay down on the bed, it feels great. Next thing you know, I have to build a go-kart with my ex-landlord.